to the beat now. You don't stop, but keep going. You rock the shoe shot. Keep on, you rock the shoe shot. I'm gonna run it back because I'm not the best. I'm gonna run it back because I'm not the west. I'm the best MC you ever find. I'm rocking on the MC in their time. And he is a soul, but never go. I got a sucker girl who thought she was a fool. And a brother, she thought she was a bad person. But she can never have, cause I'm a too hot to handle, too hot to and everybody knows I'm a defense. A lemon to a line, the MC,
Davey D, we're back here. We're talking with Sherri-Sher from the group Mercedes Ladies. You know, let me ask you this. When you all started, first of all, how did you all put your group together in terms of how did you allocate who was going to do what? You were an MC, right? You know, so you had other MCs in the group. How did you all go about doing your things? I mean, did you come up with routines? Was it off the dome? Did you all rehearse? I mean, what was that like?
Actually, we were, Trevor had us rehearsing. We used to rehearse on 168th Street by Boston Road, where Theodore and them used to have their rehearsals. So when we used to get in there, we used to sit
Theodore
there.
and them rehearsed too, huh?
Yeah, you had routines back then. I mean, when people went out there and performed, they performed. You got a show. And we used to come up with routines, you know, like we the M-E-R to C, that's girls you know with the most finesse, calm, cool, and collected too. Fly guys, what you want to do? One for the money, two for the show. Come on, baby D, let's rock that. And she's like, turn, and then we used to
And so she was scratching everything.
She was scratching. Watch your hands over there, because it's birds video. Yeah,
bird doo-doo.
Yeah.
See, this is it. We are. See, you know, we're really in Harlem. You know, other places they don't have the birds doo-doo in the forest.
Official.
But anyway, so she would scratch.
Yeah, she would scratch, and before we would go out there, we definitely had to have our routines, and we used to sit there and write rhymes and routines that that we used to do when we get out there, and we would put on a show.
Now you wrote a book called Mercedes Ladies.
First female hip hop story.
Yeah, what was that about? And what do you cover in the book? Is it a biography? Is it kind of like a story?
Well, it's actually based on a true story, because it took me a while to official gunshots, I think, mixed with firecrackers. But anyway, the book is actually, it took me, when we was coming up with Mercedes Ladies, I always had a diary. And I always kept the diary. Actually, I have the original that I started from.
Okay.
I used to just like writing, so I used to document a lot of stuff and just keep a diary, a journey. So when we started getting recognition in like the Vibe magazine, Stress magazine, people was mentioning us in the book, like, oh, what happened to Mercedes Ladies?
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
Oh, well, they didn't stick with it, but they didn't know that it was really a grind, and it was very hard, and it actually took a toll. So the book is basically about 6 females that was born and raised in the Bronx, came from single parent homes, and how they didn't get monetary gain from, which is now a $1 billion industry. They didn't know what they had back then, but we knew we had something. But we went through the grind, we went through the struggle. It wasn't about, the book is about how we came from nothing, gained a name, becoming in history, and got through it all through trials and tribulations like drugs, homelessness, being from single parent homes, living here in the hood, and what was suspected how black females was out here shaking their butts and getting pregnant and stuff like that.
Mercedes Ladies didn't do that though.
No, we did not. And I wanted my book to show some strong sisters that came up in the game.
Y'all were attractive, but y'all didn't, why didn't y'all, and one would think, especially when you talk about the 70s, a lot of people listening to this or watching this, they're not old enough to remember, but in the 70s, it was all about free sex.
That's right.
Remember, I mean,
That's right.
Whatever buck wild stuff you think is going on today, back then, because if you remember, we used to do that dance, the Freak.
That's right.
Right? And the Freak was all about that. So I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that sexual activity and the freeness without the threat of AIDS and all that was very much around. It was easy to get into. So one would have expected Mercedes Ladies to have been like, well, let's really shake our thing, especially coming off of the whole disco era and all that.
And it could have been possible because it was like, it was Mercedes Ladies was also attractive women.
Right.
And that could have easily. But I always think somehow like we had something special because we when we would go rehearse all night long, and when we used to go and make sure we had a routine, our mind was set on accomplishing something and getting a rep for ourselves.
Right.
In the beginning of like hip hop.
Right.
And our minds wasn't really set. And when you read the book, it was like our minds was just based on trying to become Mercedes Ladies and get that respect as females in the game. And we also used to have a rule: we didn't want to get known for like shaking our butts or exploiting our bodies. So we used to wear like our t-shirts and our jeans. It wasn't about that.
So ain't no pioneers can walk around and be like, put you in a rhyme for nothing scandalous.
No, well, everybody puts us in a rhyme like Mercedes, young ladies.
Yeah, that's about it. That's what I mean.
Exactly.
Because you all carry yourself.
Exactly.
That way. How did you feel coming out of the 70s? First of all, the first time you heard Sugar Hill Gang, when you heard that, knowing the type of work that you all had put in,
right,
and then later on, Sugar Hill led to Flash and them getting signed,
right,
and then Crash Crew, and then Chirac and them, and then later came Sequence, and people think Sequence is the first female group. How did you all feel?
At that time we were very hurt, and actually we was hurt in a thing because we had felt that we put so much work in as far as on the grind and in the streets, and then for somebody to come along, some females that was not even known in New York, and they came from, and they were singers, and for them to come up here and end up getting a rap deal. And we were hurt then. It was like, we was like, oh wow, what's this about?
Did you feel
at that
hurt?
time we
Did
were
you
very
feel
hurt
or anxious when Sugar Hill came out? I know I used to be in a crew, and I think a lot of people, when they saw Sugar Hill, you tell me, everybody had a different perception. At first, I thought it was the Casanovas, because when they spelled, Casanova Fly,
right.
I mean, unless you knew it was Grandmaster Caz, but I didn't, but if you were near, Mitchell and Webster houses, you might have thought it was Tiny in them doing that, doing the song, and people said it was the Casanova crew put out a song. Then everybody was kind of like, okay, they was cool.
Right.
And then when you saw them, you was like, who are these people?
Exactly.
And it made everybody anxious. So when Sugar Hill itself came out, did you all feel like, oh snap,
it's gonna happen for us? Yeah, we did. We just know, okay, it's gonna happen. Hip hop is starting to get noticed now, and even though it took some people to get signed that really didn't have that street rep, okay, but the doors was gonna open up, and Mercedes Ladies was, we was all hyped. It was like when you read the book and you could feel the struggle. What I tried to capture in the book is what I felt and what I was going through at that moment. And in the book, like some people read the book and it's like, wow, that book is, we didn't expect it to be that. We thought it was going to be a book about you talking about how the females was done wrong in hip hop. So when they read it and say, wow, this is actually a story.
Right.
And they said it made me cry sometimes. It made me angry. It made me think of back in the days when we used to be rocking the hula, the different color loop earrings. So this book actually opened up a door for females to be like, oh shit, it's taking us back to like back in the days where, I'm getting like even younger females is like, wow, your book is so hot because it's giving a story.
Right. Let me ask you, Sylvia Robinson, of course, was a pioneer in terms of being a female, starting off as a singer, and she put out those first records. So, I mean, there was enjoying, but she really put that on them. Did you all ever have a meeting with her, and was there an expectation that her being a female would automatically have really come and looked out, and checked? And also, did Flash and them, when they were signed, did they say, y'all need to go up into Harlem and into the Bronx and look out for Mercedes Ladies?
No. We don't feel that happened. We felt when that came, I think a lot of the guys back then that was getting the recognition and stuff like that, they was more concerned about themselves, and which is respectfully so. So they was more concentrating on, wow, this is becoming big, and that's what it was. And we used to feel like, wow, why is nobody saying, about Mercedes Ladies? And actually, I didn't even think Sylvia Robinson knew about Mercedes Ladies.
Wow. So everybody just act like you didn't exist. Everybody went for theirs.
Exactly. And that's how, and back then, and that's how it was. Everybody went for themselves.